Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Find a living in fisheries. The UAS Fisheries Technology Program offers online study from anywhere in Alaska, plus labs and workshops in many Alaska towns.
Is most likely a chum.
Find your living without leaving where you are. Fisheries Technology from UAS.
The National Weather Service.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. Showtime's APB 5:30, KUAC on 9.4, also at 5:30, 360 North 7:30, and uploaded by 8 p.m. on Alaska Public or on YouTube. On today's satellite, another fair day over the interior. Temperatures a little on the chilly side up there in the Yukon Flats, also across the North Slope, down into the -20s throughout the afternoon, with clear skies, fair conditions all the way out to Nunivak Island, the southwest coast. A little bit of moisture here. Very weak system right there with flurries at Wales, Tin City, and a little more in the way of general light snow down towards Savunga and maybe out to Gamble. Otherwise, down to the south, we have a system down here pushing up moisture to the northwest and heaviest down across Kodiak Island, and some snow spreading up into Prince William Sound today. Valdez to Whittier and Portage picking up snow. And otherwise, out along the southeast coast, another fair day. A few clouds skiffing along the north coast there, but conditions not too bad at all. Definitely dry with some sunshine, a break over the central Aleutians, the next storm approaching out to the west there. The front still way back out to the west at about 3 p.m. This just high clouds spreading in out in advance. A couple of rain and snow showers possible. Have ended by now over the central Aleutians. Occasional rain on Alaska, eastern Aleutians there. Northerly flow. Most of the colder air is still back up to the north or just back to the west there. It's all shifting eastward, so the snowfall levels will fall this evening, but there won't be that much moisture left for any snow if it occurs at all there for the Unalaska area. Showers today around Cold Bay, and then this area of light snow again from St. Lawrence Island, mostly on the north shore there up into the Bering Strait. This system, 2/3 of an inch, Kodiak in the last 24 hours, all in the form of rain, and look like some moisture is coming onto the southern and eastern side of the Kenai Peninsula today. Snow, 1 to 3 inches around Valdez during the day today, and 2 inches at Portage, and some of that extended into Turnagain Arm for distance anyway. Just an increase in the clouds here, Cook Inlet and the Madanuska Valley areas, and low clouds over the eastern Tanana Valley around Northway and Tok up, not reaching Eagle, and then cutting off at about Delta. And again, the sunshine here over the southeast coast. Arctic coast, light winds, so areas of dense fog, 1/4 to 1/2 mile visibility is reported in some areas up there, and also a few flurries. But much colder temperatures there on the north slope. This area is showing up white. Isn't cloudiness, it's just that the ground is so cold, and that same pattern over the Yukon Flats. For tonight, it stays clear and cold up here over the interior, southward into northern Bristol Bay. Some snow showers continuing along that trough there from the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island. That should spread down to Nunivak Island, chance of snow showers. Now mostly move east of the Pribilofs as this ridging gradually shifts eastward as well. And this low center dropping off to the south there, so that kind of leaves the front hanging up over the Gulf of Alaska right into Kodiak Island, so periods of rain tonight and fog. Mixture along the coast. Whatever gets inland will be in the form of snow there, so continuing snow tonight for Prince William Sound. And along the eastern slopes of the western Alaska Range. Otherwise, look for an increase in clouds, Mananuska, Susitna Valley on up to the Alaska Range. No change to the Tanana Valley, that same sort of pattern, risk of a flurry around Tok and Northway. Otherwise clear and cold up toward Eagle and Beaver, Chalk-Yitzhak again, dropping far below zero, and partly sunny over the, or partly cloudy over the southeast coast. And then for tomorrow, that front will get nudged eastward there by the jet stream, and that'll spread some rain up into Heidelberg, Klawock, probably to Port Alexander. You're going to be right on the edge, but look for an increasing chance of rain in the afternoon for Sitka. Otherwise, northern areas stay mostly clear, dry, and on the chilly side, still a gradient there. Still some gusty north to northeast winds, but nothing too serious. Otherwise, mostly sunny, Copper River Basin there, on up through the interior. Back to the west, we just still have this area of snow. Actually, this area of moisture tonight, kind of, as I mentioned, pulls northward. And then during the day tomorrow, it actually goes back to the south there. So look for skies to clear out in the valleys down into northern Cook Inlet, as well as Prince William Sound. Could see some clearing showing up later tomorrow afternoon. But the rain continues for Kodiak Island through Monday. Isolated snow showers now along the Alaska Peninsula, mostly on the Bering Sea side. Winds beginning to diminish, starting out stronger tomorrow out of the northwest, and of course tonight, then diminishing as weak ridging moves in advance of that next front out here to the west, pushing gale force winds and rain from Adak to Atka, moving on into Nikolsky during the afternoon. Have to wait till evening for Unalaska Island to get in on that, and a lot of gale force winds, colder temperatures, rain and snow showers following that in behind. Still a chance of some flurries there for St. Lawrence Island, but winds pretty light there. 10 to 15 knots is all for the marine zones, and areas of light snow mostly over the Chukchi Sea. Some of that though could show up around Kivalina to Point Hope, maybe Cape Lisburne. And a trough brings some light snow, actually a low center there up over Banks Island. Trough extending down from that drags across the eastern Arctic coast. So look for some areas of lights or just light snow at times with patchy fog, and then that becoming more flurries and more intermittent from Barrow on out to the west. And then for the next day, lose the gales. Again, with that front coming in tomorrow, we've got 30 to 40 knot winds in the forecast there along the southeast coast. Well, that front moves eastward, weakens into a trough, rain changes to showers, and kind of enhanced area showers pushing in with that trough there, coming in mostly to the central and northern southeast coast with lesser chances to the south. Still a chance of snow here for the next couple of days. Prince William Sound into Valdez, maybe the Copper River Basin, but it doesn't look like anything's going to get past the Chugach Mountains or anything will reach Cook Inlet or the valleys. Improving conditions there. Kodiak Island, a couple of days of rain, go into a more showery condition. Some of this might slip on back down toward Fognak Island, maybe a little farther to the south. This system will stay to the south as it moves on by, actually dropping off there. The remnants of that front right along here. We've got a low center there near the Pribilofs, and this other one back here to the west. And that's the old frontal boundary was right in there, so that's a pretty good area to see some moisture. On the south side of this low, strong gale force westerly winds, 50 knots for the western Aleutians, and less than 50 knots for the central Aleutians, with rain and snow showers there. North of the area, Pribilofs northward, look for some snow showers possible. And the moisture was along the Alaska Range will be tomorrow and tomorrow night. That will push this way and kind of slip northwestward. So some flurries possible there, Unalakleet and Elam over to maybe White Mountain, possibly Nome, but whatever falls will be very insignificant. And no change there along the Arctic coast. Areas of flurries, patchy fog, and light winds on the east side. A little brisker, picking up the winds here, western Arctic coast. And temperatures this afternoon across the southeast coast, upper 30s to lower, or upper 20s to lower 30s for the most part, but a net up to 36 degrees, 27 at the state capital, 31 Cordova, Yakutat 36 in Cordova, 21 snow in Valdez, also 21 in Palmer, Kenai 23 degrees, 30 down at Homer, Seward at 32, -2 McCarthy, 20 at Gunsight, and Talkeetna pushed up to 22 degrees today. North of the mountains, though, 10 below at Northway, at Nenana, and -3 in Fairbanks, Northway up to 9, and even colder, -22, both at Beaver and Fort Yukon and Chuck-Yitzhak at the same time this afternoon. They were -26, 22 below there on the North Slope at Umiat Airfield, and I think that 20 up there at Barrow might be wrong, could be right. Otherwise, a little above or below 0 for the remainder of the Arctic coast, -9 at Point Lay, -1 Kivalina, and 10 degrees at Wales, about the same there in Nome. Elam 14, St. Michael 17, that 15 below is at Caltag, -3 in McGrath, and just 6 in Bethel today, while Marshall had 16, Macoriac 24. Out west, mid-30s for the Pribilofs, upper 30s central western Aleutians. Unalaska had 40 and or 41, upper 30s for the peninsula, cooling into the 20s and upper teens actually toward King Salmon. For the lows tonight, again 15 to 30 below over the interior here, with milder conditions on the Arctic coast. Mid-20s St. Lawrence Island, right around 20 there for Nunivak Island, but along the coast inland, single numbers, 2 below 0 at Bethel. Teens and lower 20s, again the moisture moving in, keeping the temperatures warmer tonight over south central Alaska, and upper 30s for Kodiak, lower 30s the peninsula, mid-30s in the Aleutians. Kind of a range here over the southeast coast, depending on where it's cloudy and windy, could drop as low as 10, and otherwise it's as warm as 31. And for the ties tomorrow, 30s to maybe lower 40s here for the Panhandle, upper 20s, mid-20s to lower 30s, south central Alaska, Prince William Sound, lower 40s for Kodiak. Teens, Bristol Bay, mid-40s central Aleutians, staying below 0 again, North Slope down into the Yukon Flats to about Eagle, a little above 0 for the Tanana Valley. And flying weather tomorrow afternoon, we've got IFR here along the coast of the Kenai Peninsula, possibly up into western Prince William Sound, and marginal VFR though extending in toward the Panhandle. Again, this area slipping southward, so we got VFR coming southward throughout the day, definitely for Cook Inlet all the way down to Kachemak Bay. Kodiak Island, marginal VFR, a patch of marginal stuff there in the 40-mile country, the Arctic coast North Slope, occasionally marginal, probably will be some IFR where the dense fog sets in, and then out to the west here, a narrow band of IFR with that front edging in toward Nikolsky from Atka. And for passes, once again, Anaktuvik and Adigan, both VFR tomorrow, and Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR, lowest conditions on the eastern approaches, and that'll tend to improve in the afternoon. And for rainy VFR, windy, same forecast. Isabel, Mentasta, once again VFR, and Tanita VFR. Portage, IFR on the eastern entrance, otherwise marginal. And for Chilkoot and White, another VFR day. Freezing levels right at the surface here, St. Matthew Island, south of Bristol Bay, up along the North Gulf Coast, kind of the same pattern we've seen there across the Panhandle. And then with that front coming in, some definitely pulling warmer northward on those southerly winds, 8,000 feet spreading in over the western Aleutians. That's for early tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow's icing, kind of a large area here of rime icing above about 5,000 feet. That becomes more mixed farther to the west. None over the interior, and could see some icing of the light rime variety there for Kodiak Island, maybe up across Iliamna to Port Allsworth, and probably not making it into Prince William Sound. And then along the southern southeast coast, again, that front coming in, so I'll bring some moisture along with it. Jet stream showing that low kind of far to the south, but 70 knots there curving around and dragging that front inland. A weak upper level low here over the southwest interior, kind of between the west-northwest jet here with this ridging. And then the easterly winds up along the Arctic coast here are from about the Brooks Range northward around that upper level high. Next system back out to the west, 9,000 feet. Pretty strong winds right along the southeast coast. Again, as that front pushes in and northward, 50 knots, dropping back to about 30 knots for Prince William Sound, then back up to 40 for the Barren Islands, northwest 40, a real narrow band here for the eastern Alaska Peninsula. Ridging lighter winds along the coast, 10 to 20 over the interior out of the east. And then the next storm coming in, call it 40 to 45 here. Stronger wind max will be either to the north or still to the south. and just 10 knots for the eastern Aleutians. 3,000 feet, about the same pattern, 30 to 50 knots out here with that next incoming storm into the Bering. And northwesterlies 25 to 35. They're from Cape Newnham down across the Alaska Peninsula, Chignik. Northeast 45 coming into Kodiak Island. 30 to 50 knot winds there along the southeast coast. Otherwise, easterly 15 to 20 through this portion of the interior, 10 to 15 up along the Brooks Range on out to the Arctic coast. And then could see some 25 knot winds here over the Kuskokwim Valley. So taking a look at turbulence, smooth over the interior, Arctic coast all the way down to about here, most of Cook Inlet, and then southern Kenai Peninsula, say roughly Homer, on down across Kodiak Island, about as far west as Sand Point. There are occasional moderate chop below 4,000 feet. Same pattern here along the Panhandle, those gusty southeast winds right up to the North Gulf Coast, which includes Yakutat and Cordova. And then out to the west, smooth for the Fox Islands, moderate chop, shimmy and Attu all the way to Adak with those gusty west winds. That'll continue, if not increase some, on Tuesday. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider, and joining me once again is Cindy Preller. She is the Tsunami Program Manager for the National Weather Service in Alaska region. Thanks for joining us again, Cindy.
Thank you, Dave.
We're talking about tsunami awareness and safety here in Alaska especially, and one of the things that has been one of your main focuses is the Tsunami Ready program. What is that, and how do Alaskans find out more?
Awesome. Yes, Tsunami Ready is a National Weather Service hosted program in partnership with Storm Ready.
Okay.
And it is a program that we conduct with our partners in the state, but it's mostly community driven. So if a community wants to become tsunami ready, well, the first thing they need to do is get a hold of me or their local WCM at a weather forecast office or their tsunami team at the state level.
So, and this is something that's a NOAA grant, so there's money available to help encourage the preparedness at the local level there in the city or the village.
Yeah.
What are some of the places that have done this already?
Oh, our oldest tsunami ready city is Seward,
Good.
you know, but also Sitka, Homer, Valdez are the, you know, the main players, but we've got several tsunami ready communities that I'm very proud of. It takes several years to accomplish this. And so a few of the things that they do is the tsunami risk will be assessed by someone like me or another scientist will help find out, you know, really what their probability is. We'll create an inundation map, an evacuation map. They'll have a mitigation plan. We will set up some partnerships with the schools, make an evacuation shelter, and then they need to practice. But it is the city that owns the program, really. It's up to them. And many cities would like to have sirens, and so we help them get those. And, you know, and they practice. They have to practice.
Sure. So let's say I'm driving into a place like Seward that's tsunami ready. What are some of the things I should look for as maybe a visitor so I know maybe where I need to go or can be more aware of my tsunami risk?
Absolutely. The tsunami ready signage is really blatant. It's this, you know, blue and white curling wave sign, and there's different shapes of signs that'll show you if you are in the hazard zone or where the evacuation routes are and when you're out of shelter.
Okay. So this is a multi-step process that helps the residents be more aware of their own risk, but then also prepare for when that risk arrives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, many communities sound their sirens daily, some sound them weekly, you know, to make sure everybody knows what they mean. And there's often drills. We have an annual drill once a year. We have Tsunami Awareness Preparedness Week, and that's a good time for each community to do some exercising.
Okay. And is this a program that is unique to Alaska?
Absolutely not. It's national.
Okay.
And all over the country, you'll have the same signage, so it's consistent.
Good. So if I'm taking the kids to California, I should be able to see something familiar.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And, you know, some communities hesitate because they think it'll discourage tourism. And so I would like to tell those communities that what they're actually doing is they're encouraging responsibility.
Sure.
The tsunami's going to happen.
Right.
And it's going to hit every coastline. So, you know, it's not about when, It'll be any time. So the fact that they're showing tourists that they are making steps to be prepared for this, I think would encourage people to want to stay there.
Right, and that would be no different than, say, you or I visiting the Midwest, where we know there's going to be really bad thunderstorms and maybe there's a risk for tornadoes. We're aware of that risk when we go there.
Absolutely. If I see a sign for a tornado shelter, I'm going to remember that.
Right. Okay. All right. So we're just doing a better job of being more prepared with something that's bound to happen again.
I hope so.
Okay. Very good. Where can people go again to learn more about the Tsunami Ready program here in Alaska?
Well, one, there is a Tsunami Ready website. So, you know, just Tsunami Ready,
Google
and that'll
Tsunami
get you
Ready.
there.
Okay.
And then probably the best person for people to contact is their warning coordination meteorologist at their local weather forecast office, which is Anchorage or Juneau, most likely.
Okay. All right. So most of the folks along the Bering Sea coast, again, are not at a huge risk for tsunamis at this
No,
point.
they don't need to worry about it.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. But always learning to be prepared no matter where you are in Alaska, no matter what the risk, always a good step. And tsunami is a major player in that, as we well know from events like 1964.
Alaskans are resilient. I really believe in them.
Very good, very good. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for joining us again, and please make an effort to learn more about the Tsunami Ready program in your village and town if you haven't already. We'll be back with Cindy again next time to talk more about the Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, Alaska. We actually have a group of geologists working for the National Weather Service, so scratch your head on that one and we'll join you next time. I'll see you next time on Alaska Weather Packs.
Welcome back. Look for pretty good gales with that front pushing in all along the coast. Southeast 40 knots, down south 16-foot seas turning easterly and falling back to minimum gales up to the north. Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, especially northern Lynn Canal, north 30 knots, 6-foot seas, northeast 25, Stevens Passage, maybe a little more easterly there for Frederick Sound. And Clarence Strait, southeast at 30 with 6-foot seas. Well, those come down on Tuesday. Still looking at small craft advisories here, actually ranging from 25 knots on the south coast to 35 knots hanging on to the north coast there, but seas 12 or 13 to 15 feet, southeast 30 for Clarence Strait, northeast 30 now in the picture here for Stevens Passage, and Lynn Canal 35 knots out of the north. For Prince William Sound, northeast 25 tomorrow, 6-foot seas, same forecast for Cook Inlet. South of the Forelands, we've got gales, southern Cook Inlet right down across Shelikof Strait out of the north. North 25 there, eastern Kodiak Island, the Barrens northeast 30. East winds 40 knots from the entire North Gulf Coast with seas around 20 feet. And for Tuesday, we'll knock it down a little. High-end small craft advisories here. East 30 turn northeast down across the Barrens, diminishing there for Kodiak. Really coming down for Shelikof Strait down to 15. 20 knots Kamishak Bay. And much lighter winds just on a northeast breeze for Cook Inlet. And for Bristol Bay tomorrow, small craft advisories. North winds at about 25. Gale northwesterlies blowing across the Alaska Peninsula, 12 to 15-foot seas, and gales extend right up to Sitkinak. Then for Tuesday, kind of looks like some kind of a frontal boundary or low pressure center, but that's where the front will be lying across this area. So east to southeast winds here, this side of the front at about 20 to 25. Good westerlies, 30 knots to the Alaska Peninsula, seas 12 to 13 feet. And for the Fox Islands tomorrow, it would be mostly under the influence of that weak ridge moving through, so lighter winds west more or less at 20 knots. Then you pick up the gales here west of Nikolsky, full gales for the central Aleutians, and then west-southwest gales 35 to 40 on out towards Attu Island with 14 building to 20-foot seas. And then we got storm force westerlies here for the western Aleutians, 50 knots, 45 knots up to Adak and Atka. And then it gets a little more west-southwest here with gales extending into this zone, otherwise west-northwest 30 knots for the eastern Aleutians with 13 to 17-foot seas. For Nunivak Island tomorrow, north 10 to 15, 5-foot seas or less. That same pattern down to Nunivak Island from St. Lawrence Island, northwest 20 there. And then the Pribilofs coming up to 25 knots out of the south, and southeast winds picking up to 30 knots with 9-foot seas for St. Matthew Island. Then on Tuesday, gale force northeasterlies here, mostly west of St. Matthew Island, dropping back to about 25 north of Nunivak Island, 20 knots St. Lawrence Island. And the Pribilofs west at 13-foot seas. And south of Nunivak Island, easterlies at 30 with 7-foot seas. Along the Arctic coast, pretty light winds tomorrow out of the west or out of the east or northeast, only at about 10 knots. And then that picks up to 20 knots here for the west side, and then heavy freezing spray in this area as well. Those 20-knot winds, much lighter there for the Chukchi Sea and Kotzebue Sound. Those turn east and pick up to about 15 here on Tuesday, and brisk wind advisories here for the western coast from Cape Thompson on up to just about the central coast there, with heavy freezing spray, lighter winds east-northeast, 15 for the eastern coast. And for tonight again, light winds up there and patchy areas of dense fog and flurries with more extensive area of IFR, low cloud conditions, snow showers, light flurries from the Bering Strait to St. Lawrence Island, scattering out as they head south, edging eastward of the Pribilofs there. Winds increase here for the Alaska Peninsula tonight. Mostly dry though, could be some snow showers on the lee side of the peninsula, and moisture spreading up keeps snow going in Prince William Sound. You get a little more mixed Cordova, maybe down to Seward, but building here on the western Cook Inlet area over to the mountains. Stays wet for Kodiak Island, fair for the Panhandle. The next system pushing into the west out there drives eastward to the Atka-Nikolsky area. Wind should start picking up over the Pribilofs, as I mentioned. Strong west winds following in behind. That front pushes into the southern southeast coast with the rain mostly down to the south. Drier and maybe some sunshine to the north with those gusty northeast winds in the channeled areas. Drying out here, this precipitation shield pushing southward tomorrow, so it stays wet for Kodiak Island. This area, light snow kind of goes like that on Tuesday. Otherwise, no change for the interior. Showers for the Panhandle.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Are your ducks in a row? Almost half of Americans do not have a proper estate plan. Estate plans are more than matters of money and inheritance. They can guide your future health decisions and provide special instructions for loved ones in your care. Put your mind at ease by getting your ducks in a row today.
To receive a free financial planning and record workbook, contact me, Chris Rogness.